Gentlemen, welcome back to the channel. Today we're going over the FB Radom Beryl, a Polish duty rifle for their military. That's probably going to start getting phased out by the Grot. Nonetheless, I've wanted another 5.56 AK in my life, and I got one. So today we're going over the Beryl. Brony, that's kind of a sus name. Fabryka Brony, Radom, Poland. We have here a NATO AK, gun chambered in 5.56. I was chasing the 5.56 Dragon in terms of AKs. I've had a number of different 5.56 AKs come into my hands. I've shot a number of 5.56 AKs. And one of the better options from what I was seeing available to the American market. Now, there was also another reason, is because FB Radom announced that these are going to stop becoming available here in the United States. I think they're talking with Arms of America. General consensus of what I've heard, so it becomes a little bit more of a sought-after collector's items just due to supply and demand until this supply eventually runs out. Now, I wouldn't encourage you to panic buy or freak out, but when I heard that, I was like, I kind of wanted a 5.56 AK. I've heard nothing but good things about the Beryl. I'm not a big Beryl expert, but I wanted to take the dive and look at it and see what it was all about running a 5.56 AK, especially with the track record that the Beryl has. So I snagged one. Gentlemen, by the way I'm dressed, it should be no surprise I'm a big fan of protecting yourself, and this video's sponsor also wants to protect you in the digital sense. This American-made Faraday sleeve double line made by Refuge can help reduce that signature of your electronic footprint. No signal. Exquisite. Governments, corporations, intel agencies all want to get access to your digital technology. Maybe if you had a Faraday sleeve and you were in Lebanon, your device wouldn't explode. Now, of course, there could be many applications where you want to drop off the grid and you don't want your smartphone super duper tracker device to keep tabs on what you are up to, and a Faraday sleeve could help you do that. Your privacy is important, but many people don't think that is. So you can help take steps to ensure that you are keeping a nice private footprint by throwing a smartphone device in an American-made Faraday sleeve. I endorse it. I think it's really cool. I appreciate that it's American-made. It smells delicious with that buffalo skin leather. I encourage you to go check them out. Link for them will be in the description down below. Now, the quick history synopsis is Poland is behind the Iron Curtain. They have the Tantal. Iron Curtain drops. Poland wants to roll into NATO, and then the Beryl gets turned into a 5.56 duty gun used by their military. That was a very quick history of it, and then we get into the surface side of it, because the Beryl, of being a NATO AK, is actually combat tested and proven in the global war on terror. Used in both Iraq and Afghanistan by Polish troops, there was a general consensus from what we saw that they were happy with the weapon, minus the cheek weld. That was a big complaint about the Beryl, is the cheek weld with how high the optic sits. We'll get to the whole setup in a second. The gun itself has a good track record, which to me is important as a civilian consumer. When we look at those firearms, we can say, okay, this thing has been to war. It is a tried and true platform. Sure, I'll pick one up for the collection, see what it's all about. Clearly, there's already a good sniff test that it has passed. Unlike some of the other civilian style firearms on the market that are tailored toward the American citizen that doesn't have a good combat track record or a combat track record at all. Now, it's not the do-all end-all, because there can be some very high-quality civilian firearms made, but it is still a nice feeling in the gut when you do have something like that. So the 5.56 Beryl is not unique to the AK family. The Russians developed a 5.56 AK. Many American manufacturers have since come out with 5.56 AKs. It would be an interesting thought, because I believe they're even coming out with the AK-19 a 5.56 Russian AK. They're looking to sell to other countries that still use 5.56, and they want a new AK platform. Interesting little look there because they're making a weapon that is chambered technically in the weapons used by their enemies. I thought that was interesting because military-industrial complex, gonna military-industrial complex. They want the money.
Let's talk about what to look for when you're choosing an AK.
I was going down the rabbit hole of AKs available to the American market, and there are a number of AKs, of course, available to the American market. Wow, that was really redundant. I, of course, was going down the rabbit hole of AK platforms chambered in 5.56 that are of quality, that are available to the American market. Asking a lot of the guys that I trust much more than myself when it comes to AK knowledge, they were all pointing me towards the Beryl, and of all the guys that I trust more than me when it comes to AK knowledge, all talked highly of the Beryl in their YouTube videos. Guys like Clayco, 9-Hole Reviews, Mish.
Hi, Misha here, and you know, for years we've had an opportunity to have FB Radom Beryls, and now they're finally coming to an end.
They all talked highly of the Beryl. From what I was gathering, it's more of a respected AK platform in 5.56, so I decided let's take the dive. Now, when it comes to the pop culture references, something that I do like to dive into here on the channel, there are not a lot of Beryl pop culture references within the United States. Typically, they all revolve around video games, two big American games or games that Americans play, PUBG Battlegrounds with the 7.62 variant of the Beryl, and then I don't play a lot of Rainbow Six Siege, Nature of the Beast, but apparently that's in the game as well. Who knows when it'll show up in the future video games? As of filming this, a new Battlefield got announced, so maybe the Beryl fans will get their itch there. Then it's also in a number of movies, but I think it's more Polish-dominated film. It's just one of those things where it's a very specific firearm, so unless it has to do with Polish origins, I don't think a Polish AK platform is going to show up in too many pop culture references on the big silver screen. Makes sense. A little bit of the Easter egg for the guys that are true aficionados of the gun. Now, if I'm being completely blatantly honest, the Beryl is one of those weapons that I knew existed, but it was far out of my general interest. It of course got piqued when I was doing the hunting for the 5.56 AK. Now, why 5.56 AK, you may ask, admin? Oh, great LARPer on the range! When it comes to shooting AKs, I find it to be very fun and enjoyable. Now, big thing happens across the world, whole invasion of Ukraine, that whole conflict. Good for them, hope both sides are having fun.
Hello, Biden. It's Zelensky.
Trench warfare turned up to 11 with FPV drones and future technology. Looks like a blast. So there was a window where it dried up and made 5.45 and 7.62x39 seem like it was going to be more scarce, and it probably did. If you're someone that still likes to shoot AKs, it leaves you with, okay, what if I get a 5.56 AK? And that's kind of where I was at. I'm a little bit late to the game. I don't have many other 5.56 AKs, and if I do, they're all from PSA. So I wanted something a little bit more of prestige behind it. Not a big dig at PSA. They just, from what I've seen from a lot of other guys talking about AKs, they just don't do it as good as it could be done. And it may just be the growing pains of the AK American market, but the attractive piece, of course, is the price tag with it being lower, so that's the allure. Now, am I trying to sell you on the Beryl concept? No, I really don't care. It's more so of a show and tell. It's an interesting concept I've been playing with running 5.56 AKs. I've been enjoying it, and I wanted to talk about it on my YouTube channel because that's what I do as a professional YouTube monkey. Wow, that wind really picked up. All right, well, that was enough of waxing purple for the context. Context that wasn't that great, but bear with me, my dumb monkey brain got through it. So the gun itself, I think, is pretty sick. So we do have a bayonet lug up here for those com block style AK bayonet lugs, and we have an 18-inch barrel with a 1-in-9 twist. Now, 1-in-9 twist, been using a lot of 55 grain with it. When we look at when the gun came about, it just wasn't as commonplace for those heavier grain 5.56 to be floating around, and 55 grain would be much more commonplace of a military round. Of course, there's also 62 grain, but I've been running a lot of 55 grain through this gun today, and it's 55 grain ammo that I got from the ammo sponsor, Badlands Munitions, a local Arizona company right down the street from me. I consider those guys friends. I shoot with them a lot, and they make high quality ammunition, and they are, of course, local to Arizona, so I am biased and want them to succeed, being an Arizona man of Arizona-Bajan. So of course, a big thank you to Badlands Munition. Now moving down the gun, we got the FB Beryl rail. So the rail, it's gonna be a little bit interesting. It's one of the rails of all times, in my opinion. I am not the biggest fan of how it looks. I just don't think it's as sexy as it could be. I do like the plastic furniture that it came with because I wanted the accoutrement that comes with it. But we threw a Zenko Purse on there along with the Surefire Turbo as a more practical setup, and of course a CAC vertical VFG for helping to keep my mitts not as hot on on the rail because I will say it does heat up rather quick like most AKs do, but to its credit, I was finding that it also cooled off relatively quick as well. And moving back, we have the upper rail. Now the rail, the dogleg rail, if you want to call it that, it indexes into a little nub back here. I had to use a hammer, tap it in, give it a little love tap to get it on the gun. That was pretty much it. Now, of course, everyone talks about how you can still access your iron sights through the rails, which I think is nice. But the problem I was finding is that with all the accoutrement on the gun, getting a good sight picture with the iron sight, yes, you can access it, but finding it is not as easy because there's so much stuff enclosed within the iron. So you're like, oh, where's my target? Oh, there it is. Still a good option to have. I don't hate it, but it's not the easiest thing to do. Then we have the primary arms 3x micro prism. Okay, that was a massive word salad. Stock is just gonna be a plastic fixed stock, not the cool stocks that you're used to seeing. So that would be covering the setup of how I got it equipped here. How did the gun do? Well, the thing runs as if the whips of its very own masters are behind it.
Huh?
What do your elvish eyes see, Legolas? I will say the gun runs very good. It was enjoyable to shoot. It's really hard to go wrong with an 18-inch 5.56 gun. That's already what would many could be considered a heavier weapon. I think it's coming around 7-something pounds. Unloaded, I want to say. So you add more stuff on here, probably sitting around 8-9 pounds when it's fully loaded up. So the recoil, especially with 55 grains, very nominal. Very pleasant to shoot. Oh, I forgot to mention the trigger. Trigger, as you saw, you could do some good bump firing with the trigger. Threat! Impressive. Of course, yet again, for YouTube's sake, it's all semi-automatic. It's just the skill of the shooter to be able to shoot that quickly. It's not practical shooting, but it's fun shooting. If I needed to burn through some ammo on the range, that was a government expense, say if you were Polish. Tax dollars. Exquisite. Trigger, like I was saying, very nice. I enjoyed it. Is it the best AK trigger out there? Hard to say, but for what I was shooting with today, it was a very enjoyable AK trigger. So I will say this package is a very practical setup. If you were some sort of Polish infantryman and this was your issued rifle, I could see it being like, all right, you know, I could rock and roll with this bad boy. There is something to the AK platform where you do feel really cool running around with one and you feel special. Maybe you feel a bit aggro. It's hard to explain, but it's a thing. Those of my AK runners know the feeling. I will say I had some technical difficulties when it comes to the reloads. I think with how much I shoot, I thought I would be a little bit better at it. And I found that with the mags, there was a sweet spot. And then you could either like overshoot it or undershoot it, but getting that mag in there, nothing too crazy. I think, of course, the more you shoot with it, the more time you have behind it, the easier it will be. AR guys truly are spoiled with just a simple magazine well that really hard to go wrong with. If I'm being brutally honest, I did not think the gun would grow on me as much as it has been running around and shooting it with it today. When it comes to the practicality argument, a topic very much within our zeitgeist of gun culture, the high-speed LARPing on the flat range, the end of times SHTF apocalypse of the HOA Axis powers coming to besiege your freedom and take your life, liberty, and pursuit of happiness. I think it would hold up. In my mind, I think an 18-inch gun like this, shooting 5.56, a very commonly available round here in the United States, I think it would hold up, absolutely. Of course, you probably want to have some spare parts just in case worse things do happen, but it works for the Poles, it'll most likely work for you. Now, with that being said, the Poles are looking to replace these as we get deeper into the 21st century with the Grot rifle from what I was seeing. I, of course, have no time whatsoever behind the Grot rifle. I, of course, have no time behind the Grot rifle, but I have been seeing guys that I follow that are from Poland running and gunning on the flat range with that Grot rifle, which I think is really cool. And I'm hoping from a collector standpoint that we will get them on the American market, but I'm sure, I don't know when that'll happen because they have to outfit their own guys with it and get production fired up. And with things around the world always seeming to heat up as we live out the Call of Duty Black Ops 2 campaign IRL. Whoa, how do you do that? You didn't ask for it, but you got a rapid demonstration of how to get the dog legs off, and then you have the grooves up front, which I may need another hammer for. Classic AK, beat it into submission. So now I have heard some mixed things of guys saying the guns could be hit or miss depending on the barrel. See what I did there? So far, I will say I've been enjoying running the gun because I think running AKs are a blast. And I think running 5.56 AKs are also fun. I was never a big 5.56 AK guy, but I have since converted to the thought process. I used to think they were sacrilege and kind of stupid, but I get it now. Guys, I get it. Eating your veggies are important. I get it now. All in all, I think gun is cool. I think if you have the finances for it, by all means, go buck wild. If you're a big AK aficionado, then it's another good thing to have in your collection. As I grow into collecting more firearms, just because I think they are super cool and neat, it's fun to get stuff like this in that has a cool service history, has a cool practicality, has some good lethality, and all in all is a very interesting weapon. Guys, I got nothing else for you. If you want to support the channel, check out some merchandise. I will catch you guys on the flip. Oh, there's a bush here. So there is that. So there is that. That is a thing. I'm just bad like that.